Hey guys, I wanted to make a little quick video just to demonstrate how I prepare my pages for the printer. I get this question an awful lot, and I've never really made a video about it because it's so technical, and it also depends on what printer and everything. But I'll just show you what I'm doing right now for Cither 4, which is something I'm getting ready to go to the printer. Now, what you'll notice with all these spreads is they are all in RGB color, and they are all with lots and lots of layers, and that cannot go to the printer like that. So the first thing I do is I go into the text, which is always on a separate layer. I have my text in a folder and my word balloons. And in this case, what I'm going to do is take these word balloons and I'm going to actually pull them out of the text layer, out of the text folder, because I don't want them to be a separate layer. I want the word balloons to be baked into the art and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. I also have some words that I did by hand right here. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to just paint them white. I have white here selected. I painted the words white, and you can kind of vaguely see them. Let me just go full screen with this. You can vaguely see them if I turn off everything else. And I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to do a stroke and multiply color black on the inside, and then I increase the size of the stroke so that it fills in. So what you see happening is, here you can see it with down here on the where it says the rain or to rain. You can see as I increase this, it fills it in more. If I put this on the outside, it expands it out, which is a different effect. It's not what I want though, so I'm just doing it on the inside. So what this does is it creates a vector line in black. So that vector line, I'm going to keep it vector, and I'm going to keep it separated from the art. And so all these words are actually vector too. So all these different word things are vector. These are just a font, right? And then the ones that I had hand wrote by hand, I created a vector outline of them. So I changed all the letters to white, and I made a black vector so that it should be a lot more clear when it goes to print that way. If you bake your text into your art, it will be very gross looking, and it will be blurry and pixelated, even with high quality printing. So it's just something to be aware of. You always want to have your text separated and on top. So I have this text, I have the words, and then I have this one called rough, and it's basically the rough word balloons. I don't need that to be separated. So I'm going to take that out of the word, the text folder. So now my text is that, and that's all vectorized kind of, or a font, and that's going to be separate. And then I take everything else and I would usually select it all and I would flatten it. Command E flattens it. So we have everything on one layer here, and then all of our text and vectors and fonts in another layer. There. Okay. So that's the basics of what I would do for the first pass. Now, one thing I'm going to have to do, I can see it already. If you go to test how solid your blacks are, you can do that by going to Workspace. I'm sorry, not Workspace. Proof Setup. In View Proof Setup, go to Working Black Plate. And you can see right here, there's some problems with my blacks. And so that when that's printed on an offset printer, you'll see this a lot easier once it's printed. You'll see these weird little lines and stuff that are in here. Okay. And this is just the black plate. So there's places where it needs to be fading out, but the words definitely need to be solid black. And if the words are not solid black, then you have problems. And if you can go in there and do the color picking tool and actually if I double click on this, you can scroll over these and you can make sure that your blacks are black. Now there's different combinations for the CMYK to create a solid black. You can see how the CMYK percentages aren't 100%. You would think that they're 100% because it's solid black, but it's not. There's a little color combination going on along with your blacks, along with your black plate to make it really an intense, rich black. Okay, and it involves having a little bit of cyan, magenta, and yellow in with your. Look at that. It says 90% black. So we could actually go in there and put 100% black, and that would make, if we paint these at 100% black, you would think that that's the best result, but I don't know that special combination, and different publishers have different combinations that some require, some don't. I don't really know. So, but it looks to me like if you just naturally select anywhere along here, the black is 90%, and then it's compensated for with the other colors. So that's kind of what I leave it as. And if you want something, I don't know, there's a thing called, I don't know what it's called, but it's like when the inks get too saturated on the printing press. So if you have 100% black, 100% cyan, 100% magenta, the inks start getting gummy, and it messes up the printing press, or it messes up your printing, and it starts smearing. So apparently that's a thing. So something that is kind of the reason, I guess, why they do that. Or I guess it's the reason why solid blacks are not actually 100% black. So anyway, does that make sense? I don't know. So what I need to do here is I need to Command Z to, oops, let me do that again. Command Z to unflatten everything. So I have all the layers separate now. And I just want to go in here now, and I need to clean up this area. I just need to make sure, I need to figure out where it is. And I don't know where it is. So I'm going to just go through these things that I think it could be. It's not the orange. Rain glow, windshield, blues. It's the blues. So if I clean up the black border for these blues, I think that will solve the problem. So I'm going to go back down to color setup, working CMYK. And you can definitely see those blues here. So let me just go get this polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to go back in and look at it through the black plate, though, just so that I can make sure to see that stuff clearly. And sometimes this requires you doing this in the dark. I have big bright windows around me right now, and so it makes it a little harder to spot these blacks that are not solid black. When I was doing Remind, I was really new to this whole process, and I just deleted it right there. Selected it and deleted it. I was new to this whole process, and there was a whole lot of pages where there was a lot of blacks that weren't black. There was shades of black, and if I would have gone to print that way, it would have been really obvious. I've seen other books, even professional books, printed where the blacks aren't really solid, and you see like where they were editing, where the editor or the artist was editing the artwork by just cutting out parts and stuff, and it just looks bad. It looked really unprofessional, and it was. So anyway, so you can see now that these are solid black around there. There's not any weirdness, not any weird little weirdness. Yeah, like my technical terms. First step, make sure there's no weirdness. Now let's see. Let's go back to working Cmyk. So now it's pretty solid, and that's just something that's not on every page. Actually, this is like the second page so far out of half the book that I've noticed something like that on. So I think I've been getting a little better over the years at making sure that doesn't happen. So that's the second thing I do. I first separate out the text to vectors. I get the background all together, flatten it all together. Command E flattens it. I'll just title this art. So the printer will actually get my Photoshop file, and it looks kind of like this. The next thing I want to do is I need to actually convert it to CMYK. You can't convert it to CMYK when it's on layers, and let me just show you an example of that. So we have all these layers separated, and if we convert it now to CMYK, you say don't merge. First of all, it takes a little while to do it if you do it all separate layers. But you can't really tell a difference. Can't really tell a difference. It actually did that pretty successfully. I did an undo on that. I don't generally do that because my effects, different effects that you have on it, sometimes get messed up. So maybe it's a Photoshop thing that they've fixed over the years. But wow, I'm surprised it actually worked. But that doesn't mean I'm going to still do it. I'm still going to do it this way. So I'm flattening it again, going to art, and I'm going to mode, CMYK color. Don't merge because you don't want those fonts merged in. And so now we have the flattened layer, and the file is in CMYK, which is printer ready. Now I'm going to just do Command Z to switch back and forth between RGB and CMYK so you can kind of see the difference. And sometimes it's not different. So this is RGB. This is CMYK. RGB, CMYK. You can see just a little bit right here. The cyan subtly gets a little bit more washed out in the CMYK version. You can see the rich blues here in the sky are a little bit more washed out here. See, they're a little richer, and now they're not as rich. Those are things that you just kind of have to work around and deal with. I'm aware that cyan is probably my biggest enemy when it comes to converting it over to CMYK. But honestly, when the books go to print and they're on paper, they seem to look richer than what you think they're going to look. And a lot of people tell me that the colors of the books are so much better than the colors when they see it online. So I don't know. It's all just kind of a mind game. It's all your perception of it. But it doesn't really bother me that it changes it slightly. So I'm going to make sure it's still CMYK. It is. It's flattened. Everything's good. And now I'm going to just save this as, not save. I don't want to save over my file. I want to save it as a different version. I always type CMYK at the end, just so that I know that this file is the flattened CMYK version. As you can see, I have all my files here for the pages. These are RGB, and then I have a CMYK flat files. And I've been saving these into there. I just leave this as is with the layers. I leave this embedded web-coded profile. This might be a problem if you have a really strange profile on your computer that you're using for your color, but I've been using this forever, and it seems to work really well, really fine with printers. So I don't know the technicalities of that. I'm going to save it, and we're going to say okay. Now, the next thing I do is I bring it into InDesign. All right. Hopefully that helps. See ya.